Welcome to the Stoic Tide. Have you ever wondered what happens when a woman finally realizes she lost a man who mastered himself? Not a man who begged, not a man who blamed, but one who simply accepted and walked away in silence. At first, she doesn't understand what she's done. She mistakes your calm for indifference, your patience for weakness, your detachment for a lack of love. She doesn't see that it was your discipline that made you different, that your restraint wasn't emotional distance, it was strength. You see, Stoic men don't explode when they're hurt. They go quiet. They reflect. They pull their energy back into themselves. And that silence, that rare, immovable calm, it unnerves her because it's not what she's used to. She's used to being chased, argued with, validated endlessly. But you didn't give her that. You gave her something far more powerful. Presence without dependency, love without obsession, and peace without control. She left thinking she could replace you. That somewhere out there another man would make her feel that same safety, that same grounded energy. But the truth is she won't find it again. Because men like you, men who master their minds, are rare. You've built a fortress within yourself, one she once lived inside without even realizing its value. And now that she's outside those walls, everything else feels unstable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one you live that truth." You didn't just talk about strength. You embodied it, and that's what makes you unforgettable. She didn't lose a relationship. She lost a rare kind of man, a stoic man, a man who could stand in the middle of chaos and remain unmoved. If you live by discipline, self-control, and emotional power, like this video, subscribe and comment below. I am irreplaceable. Now let's begin. In the beginning, she thought your calm meant you didn't care. She mistook your silence for indifference, not realizing it was discipline. You didn't chase every argument. You didn't raise your voice to be heard. You didn't rush to fix what wasn't yours to fix. Because a stoic man doesn't try to control the storm. He becomes the stillness within it. While others around her reacted to every emotion, you stayed composed. When she tried to provoke you, you responded with reason. When she pulled away, you didn't panic. You accepted. That quiet composure made her feel safe at first, but over time it challenged her because peace exposes chaos. And your stillness forced her to confront her own restlessness. She wanted intensity, constant highs, constant validation, constant emotional noise. But you offered depth. You offered steadiness. And because she wasn't ready to face herself, she confused your depth for dullness. She didn't see that the way you loved without control, without neediness, without fear was the highest form of strength. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." You showed her freedom. Freedom from insecurity. Freedom from emotional slavery. Freedom from the need to always be right. But people who are still enslaved to their impulses often reject what they don't understand. So she walked away telling herself you were too calm, too detached, too cold. But what she really meant was you were too strong for the kind of chaos she still called love. And when she left that calm behind, she didn't realize what she was losing. Not attention, not affection, but the quiet presence of a man who had already mastered himself. At first, the chaos feels exciting to her. The new man is passionate, expressive, spontaneous, everything she thought she was missing. The highs are higher, the attention constant, the words louder, but eventually she starts to feel something she didn't expect. Exhaustion. Because what she once called energy is actually instability. What she once called passion is really chaos dressed up as affection. Soon the excitement begins to fade. Every argument feels heavier. Every silence feels colder. And without realizing it, she begins to crave the one thing she once ran from. Peace. Not the kind that's loud and dramatic, but the kind that makes your nervous system rest. The kind you gave her effortlessly simply by existing in control of yourself. She starts to remember how it felt when you didn't react to every emotion. When your presence alone could calm a storm inside her back, then she didn't understand it. Now she can't find it anywhere else because chaos can imitate desire, but it can never imitate peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." And that's the truth she's beginning to learn the hard way. She mistook calmness for complacency. And in doing so, she traded stability for stimulation. But stimulation fades. Strength doesn't. Now every new connection feels temporary. Every conversation shallow, every man ungrounded. And deep down she knows why. Because once you've experienced the quiet strength of a stoic man, every other kind of love feels noisy, fragile, and uncertain. You became the benchmark, the standard, the piece she didn't appreciate until chaos showed her the difference. It always happens quietly, long after the noise fades, long after the excitement turns hollow. That's when she feels it, the echo of your absence, not as a memory but as a vibration that hums beneath her days. You're gone, yet somehow you're everywhere, in the way peace used to feel when she was around you, in the sound of her own mind when the world finally goes still. She remembers how your silence used to irritate her, how your calm used to confuse her. But now that very silence is what she misses most, because silence from a Stoic man isn't emptiness, it's presence without pressure. It's knowing you could speak but choosing not to. It's restraint born from strength. Everywhere she looks, she sees the contrast. The men who talk too much but say too little. The ones who perform strength but collapse under pressure. The ones who crave attention because they've never built peace within, and suddenly the absence of your energy feels louder than all their words combined. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." You lived that truth. You didn't care to be understood. You only cared to remain composed. You never explained your silence. You never defended your distance because you knew peace needs no explanation. And now that very composure is what echoes through her mind. She starts to feel something she never thought she would. Respect. Not because you chased her, but because you didn't. You see, the presence of a Stoic man lingers long after he's gone. Not because he begged to stay, but because he left without bitterness. His peace leaves an imprint that time cannot erase. It doesn't happen all at once. The realization creeps in slowly, like dawn breaking after a long night. She starts to see the pattern. Every man she meets either wants to impress her, control her, or be saved by her. None of them simply stand still. None of them have that quiet confidence that says, "I am enough as I am." And that's when she finally understands what she lost. You were never the loudest man in the room, but you were always the calmest. You didn't promise her the world. You embodied it in your composure, in your discipline, in the way you could sit in silence without needing to fill it. She used to think that calm was boring. Now she realizes it was stability. She used to think your silence was cold. Now she knows it was peace. She used to think your detachment was distance. Now she sees it was mastery. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." You faced heartbreak not with anger, but with acceptance. You let her go not because you stopped caring, but because you refused to lose yourself. And that's what separates you from every man who came after. You see, she's not missing your affection. She's missing your energy. The kind that doesn't beg, doesn't break, doesn't need to prove its worth. The kind that could love without losing control. That's when it hits her. She didn't just lose a boyfriend. She lost a mirror. A reflection of what love could be when led by calm strength instead of chaos. And once a woman sees the difference between emotional noise and grounded peace, she can't unsee it. Now your absence has become her lesson and your silence her teacher. Whether she admits it or not, she's comparing every man to you. Not his looks, not his money, but his presence. Because once a woman has experienced the gravity of a Stoic man, the way your calm fills a room, the way your silence speaks louder than flattery ever could, every other connection feels hollow. You became her standard without trying. She measures new men not by what they say, but by what they withhold. She listens for composure, for patience, for control. And she doesn't find it because most men live as slaves to their impulses. They say too much, chase too quickly, reveal too soon. But you mastered the art of stillness. You knew when to hold back, when to observe instead of react, when to speak only if your words had purpose. That energy can't be replicated. It's not a performance. It's an aura built through suffering, reflection, and restraint. You've endured what she couldn't understand. You've learned that a man who controls his emotions controls his world. And now that energy, that discipline haunts her in every interaction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." You live that truth. You never tried to change her. You only focused on governing your own mind. That's why your peace stands apart, because it's not born from pride. It's born from principle. Now she's surrounded by men who talk but don't act, who react but don't reflect, who confuse attention with affection and passion with purpose. And somewhere deep inside, she knows none of them are you. Because a Stoic man doesn't need to be remembered. His energy remembers itself. It lingers like calm air after a storm. It becomes the measure of what peace truly feels like. Power doesn't change hands through argument. It changes through silence. When you stopped trying to be understood, you stopped giving her control. The moment you accepted what happened without resentment, you became untouchable. Because the man who no longer reacts cannot be manipulated. She feels it now. That shift. The same silence that once made her feel safe now makes her uneasy because she knows she can no longer reach you in the same way. Your energy used to bend toward her. Now it's centered within you. That invisible pull she once had is gone, and in its place is something she can't influence: your peace. She starts to wonder if you ever think of her, if you've truly moved on, if you've become someone new. And that curiosity, that subtle confusion, is the mind's way of reclaiming what the heart regrets losing. But here's the truth. The power isn't in whether she misses you, it's in the fact that you don't need her to. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And freedom is exactly what she feels radiating from you now. The man who once cared deeply now walks with detachment, not bitterness. You didn't harden, you elevated. You became disciplined in your emotions, selective with your energy, measured with your words. And the irony is that very self-control, that calm that once drove her away, is now what pulls her back in. She's drawn not to your availability, but to your absence. Because your absence is no longer empty. It's full of peace, purpose, and quiet confidence. She feels it in the spaces between her distractions. The power has shifted, not because you took it back, but because you no longer needed it. It always starts small, a message that means nothing, at least on the surface. "Hey, how have you been? I saw something that reminded me of you." A reaction to your story, like on an old post. It's never direct, never sincere. It's a test, a quiet attempt to see if she still matters to you. But what she doesn't realize is that she's no longer speaking to the same man. The man who once overanalyzed every word, who replayed every message in his head, who felt that spark of hope. That man doesn't exist anymore because heartbreak refined you. Your emotions went through fire and what came out was clarity. Now you read her message and there's no rush of adrenaline, no wave of nostalgia, just stillness. You've evolved beyond reaction. You see her words not as an invitation but as information, a reminder of the lesson, because the Stoic man no longer seeks closure from others. He carries it within himself. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." You've embodied that truth. You didn't retaliate. You didn't chase. You didn't try to prove your worth. You simply healed in silence, and now that silence holds more weight than any response ever could. When she reaches out, what she's really searching for isn't love. It's reassurance that she still has an effect on you. But your indifference reveals what words never could. She no longer does. That calm reply, or even no reply at all, tells her everything. It shows that you're not the same man who once waited by the phone. You're the man who built peace out of pain, and she can feel it. And in that moment, she realizes something far more painful than rejection. She realizes that your silence isn't a tactic. It's the truth. You've genuinely moved on. Something happens when you stop chasing what's gone and start mastering what remains. You realize it was never about her. It was about the man you became through losing her. Pain became your teacher. Silence became your training ground. Detachment became your discipline. You start to move differently. Your steps are slower but more certain. Your words fewer but heavier. You no longer crave validation because your validation comes from the mirror. You no longer need to prove your worth because your peace already does it for you. You become the kind of man who radiates calm, not because life is easy, but because you faced its storms and learned not to flinch. Marcus Aurelius said the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The heartbreak wasn't a setback. It was the forge. Every moment of pain was sharpening you into the man you were meant to become. The kind of man who loves deeply but never loses himself, who feels fully but never begs for what's left, who walks alone not in bitterness but in strength. You see, the true Stoic transformation isn't about detachment from emotion. It's about command over it. It's when you can feel everything and still remain unmoved. You've reached the point where solitude feels sacred, where silence feels like power, where peace feels like home. And now you've become what few men ever become: the calm after the storm, the man she remembers not because he demanded attention, but because his presence became unforgettable. You didn't just move on, you ascended. You're not the man she lost anymore. You're the man she could never have kept. In the end, it's not her memory that defines you. It's what you did after she left. You didn't collapse. You didn't chase. You didn't let pain turn you into someone bitter. You stood still and grew stronger. Because a Stoic man doesn't seek revenge through words or attention. His evolution is the revenge. Now you walk through life differently. Your silence speaks before you do. Your energy commands respect without asking for it. You've become what every man secretly strives to be: calm, controlled, untouchable. She may think of you from time to time, wondering if you ever think of her, but the truth is you've outgrown that version of yourself. You no longer crave what left because what left could never handle what you've become. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's the essence of who you are now. A man whose strength comes from within. A man who understands that peace is not the absence of pain, but the mastery of it. So when she remembers you, let her mind circle back to the calm she once called boring. Let her feel the weight of your absence and the warmth of the man she could never replace. But don't look back. Your path is forward toward purpose, discipline, and peace. You didn't lose her. She lost the chance to stand beside a man who mastered himself. If you live by self-control, discipline, and emotional strength like this video, subscribe and comment below. I am unmoved. Join the movement. Become a Stoic soldier, because the world remembers chaos, but it reveres calm. Stay stoic, stay blessed.